When you think about what makes a great song, your mind probably jumps to a fancy microphone, right? Or maybe some super expensive software. But what if I told you that one of the most critical pieces of gear is something most people totally overlook? We're talking about professional tracking headphones. And today, we're going to dive into why these are the absolute unsung heroes of pretty much every great recording you've ever heard. I love this quote because it just gets right to the heart of recording music. There's this point of no return where a performance gets locked in forever. That moment is called tracking. And if you get it wrong, well, that mistake is there for good, immortalized. But if you get it right, you've just captured lightning in a bottle. So, what is tracking exactly? Well, you can think of it as the moment of truth. It's the singer standing at the mic, the guitarist absolutely nailing that perfect riff. It's the spot where all that raw, live energy gets captured and made permanent. It's kind of like building a house. If your foundation is shaky, the whole thing is going to be unstable, right? It's the same here. Getting the tracking right is, well, it's everything. You'd think it would be simple, right? Just hit record. But the reality is, capturing that one perfect take, it's a battle. There are all these invisible forces working against the artist and the engineer, trying to sabotage the recording before it even gets a chance to be saved. So to really get why these headphones are so important, we've got to meet the bad guys. Let's call them the three villains of recording. The things that these headphones were specifically designed to fight. These are the culprits that can ruin even the most amazing performance. Okay, enemy number one. This one is a real sneaky saboteur. We call it sound bleed. It's quiet, it's invasive, and man, it can completely ruin a recording, and you might not even notice until it's way, way too late. So here's how it works. Picture a singer. They're in the booth, they've got headphones on, and they're listening to the song, and more importantly, a click track to stay in time. That click, 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 click. But if those headphones aren't sealed just right, that sound leaks out, and it gets picked up by that super sensitive vocal mic. And just like that, it's baked into the vocal track forever. It is an absolute nightmare to try and edit out, and honestly, it can force you to just scrap an otherwise perfect take. All right, enemy number two. This one is less of a saboteur and more of a trickster. We'll call it inaccurate sound. This is basically when the headphones are straight up lying to the performer about what's going on, and that leads them to make really bad decisions. And this is a huge problem. Why? Because most headphones you'd buy at a store are designed to sound fun, right? They're not built to be accurate. So think about it. If the bass in your headphones is just booming and artificially loud, you might end up playing your bass part way too softly to compensate. Or if the highs are super sharp and harsh, a singer might pull back and sound all strained. The headphones are literally hiding the exact problems you need to hear so you can fix them. And finally, our third enemy. This one's a marathon runner. Listener fatigue. Look, recording sessions can be long. I mean, really long. They can be totally grueling. And if the gear you're using is uncomfortable, either physically on your head or sonically just harsh to listen to, it just sucks the creative energy right out of the room. Yeah, this chart really nails the core difference. It all comes down to a totally different philosophy. Consumer headphones, they're built for excitement. They boost the bass, they make everything sound huge and larger than life. But professional tracking headphones, they are designed for one thing and one thing only, truth. Their entire job is to give you an honest, uncolored picture of the sound, revealing what's really there, warts and all. They're a tool for capturing sound, not just enjoying it. And, this kind of philosophy doesn't just appear overnight. It's usually born from decades of experience. Take a company like Focal. They started out making these incredible high-end speakers, and they were obsessed with the physics of how sound moves in a room. And that deep, deep understanding is so crucial because when you think about it, headphones are really just tiny little speakers you wear on your head. So that same obsessive quest for accuracy, it applies directly. Okay, so we've met our enemies, right? Sound bleed, inaccurate sound, fatigue. Now let's break down the weapon we use to fight them. Let's get into the anatomy of the solution and see exactly how the features of a great tracking headphone go head-to-head with those problems we just talked about. The first thing, and honestly the most important feature, is something called a closed-back design. It sounds technical, but it's actually super simple and crazy effective. Basically, the outside of the ear cup is a solid, sealed wall. That means sound has a really hard time getting in, and most importantly for us, a really hard time getting out. So that sealed design gives you maximum isolation. And what does that do? It's the perfect weapon against our first enemy, sound bleed. That pesky click track stays trapped inside the headphones where it belongs and stays far away from the microphone. And there's a bonus. It means the performer can actually listen at a lower, much more comfortable volume. This helps them relax, and that means they can deliver a way more natural performance. So it's a win-win. You get a better take and a cleaner recording. Okay, next up, honest sound. To take down that trickster, inaccurate sound, these headphones are tuned for absolute clarity, not hype. The mid-range, where the human voice lives, is super clear and forward, so it's easy to hear all the little details and catch any pitch issues. The bass is tight and controlled, not boomy, so you can really lock in with a rhythm without getting tricked. It's all about giving the artist a true, honest picture of what they're doing. And last, but not least, how do we beat fatigue? Well, here, the physical design is absolutely key. For starters, these are over-ear headphones. That means they sit around your ears, not on them. This gives you a great seal without that painful clamping feeling. Plus, they're built to be lightweight with an evenly balanced headband. The result? After a few hours in the studio, you're still focused on the music, not on the uncomfortable thing sitting on your head. All right, theory is great, but let's see how this all comes together in the real world. Let's move on from just the features and actually walk through a typical vocal tracking session. We'll see how this tool makes the job so much easier and the final results so much better.
So here's how it usually plays out. The singer puts on the headphones, the engineer dials in a mix where their voice is nice and clear over the music. And because of that amazing isolation we talked about, the volume doesn't need to be blasting. Then you hit record, and the microphone captures only the voice. That's it. No click track bleed, no instruments leaking in from the headphones. The end result is a super clean, pristine recording that saves you literally hours of painful cleanup work later on.
So this brings up a really important question. We've established that these things are incredible tools for a very specific job, but does that mean they're the only headphones you'll ever need in a studio? Well, the answer to that is almost always no. And this really is the final crucial takeaway. It's about using the right tool for the right job. A tracking headphone, that's like a surgeon's scalpel. It's a precision instrument for the critical, super delicate work of capturing a raw performance. But mixing headphones or your big studio speakers, those are more like a chef's tasting spoon. They're for making those final adjustments to the balance and the overall flavor of the track. You just wouldn't use a scalpel to taste a sauce, right? Tracking and mixing are two very, very different jobs. So, in the end, it all really boils down to this. Great tools don't add flash. They're not there to make things sound bigger or brighter or more exciting. The best tools are the ones that just disappear, the ones that get out of the way and simply reveal the truth of what you're creating. And when you're recording music, that truth, well, that's the only foundation worth building on.